What is happening, my good people? Greetings. How are you? How's it going? How's everybody doing out there? What is the latest and greatest? Val, my guy, Brent's in the room. Much appreciated. Let me post this up here. Yes, good afternoon to you, my man. Thanks for hopping on board as always. Of course, Val in the room. Yeah, I'm good. Giants won. Yes, they finally did because, man, they were in the midst of a losing streak there. So they finally did do so. Bio, my guy. West Coast represent, and I love it because I got Bio and, of course, Val being on the left coast, and then I know I'm shouting out everybody's destination or everybody's where they're from, and then Brent, of course, north of the border in Ontario. Again, goes without saying how much I appreciate your support, and obviously another live stream. What more can I tell you? And I know the other day I put up that surprise live stream, which I'm going to start doing again. I might as well just put this graphic up. As you can see, today is the 23rd of July. We're getting closer to August. Time is just flying. What more can I tell you? But the podcast pregame, 9:30 Eastern time. Yeah, I figured this is just another outlet for me because I'm just trying to do what I can. Obviously, the podcast and even just a Wednesday live stream isn't enough. And trust me, I've thought about a lot of different time slots. And I'm going to keep this one. It's not as if I'm going to change it, but I've thought about doing some lengthier live streams, more so at night. And I know it's tough for me because I live in a one-bedroom apartment, and I understand that the wife could go into the bedroom and go to sleep. But obviously with my voice and the way I speak, I wish I could just whisper and talk about sports in that fashion. But we all know that's not authentic. And for me to really get my point across, I have to enunciate and obviously bring a lot of passion and desire with what it is that I'm doing. So let's just say, for instance, I understand you still got the West Coast games, but let's say it's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. So even if I did a live stream starting at 9 o'clock Eastern time, and let's say I went through midnight or past midnight or even around midnight, which I would love to do, let's say maybe 2-3 times a week. But of course, it's next to impossible. Now, if I owned a home and had my own little studio where I could just lock myself in there and yell to my heart's content, it'd be a different story. But as of right now, of course, because of the limited space and the conditions, and of course, being mindful of the misses, that, yeah, unfortunately, I'm unable to do that. So who knows? Maybe there'll be a time and place. And I understand I have put forth some impromptu lives. I did so after the Steelers losing to the wild card round to the Ravens back in January. Of course, I did a Super Bowl post live stream in the early part of February, and I even did that Celtic disaster after they lost game 2 to the Knicks in the Eastern Conference semifinals, which I was just, my blood was boiling. And even then, if you go back and watch that, not that I was whispering, but you certainly did not get the full Jay Reels experience when it comes to what it is that I'm feeling, especially at the time, was beyond aggravated and frustrated. So, but with the podcast pregame, yeah, so what that is a precursor to what the podcast is going to be tomorrow. And what is there really to discuss other than baseball and NFL training camps, which are a couple of things I'm going to touch on here for today's live stream. But the overall picture of sports right now is mainly quiet. And the podcast pregame is to get thoughts, ideas, and even now, today, I'm sure I'll probably get an idea or two. And in fact, I don't know if he's in the room just yet, but the baseball purist who had a very interesting question that he brought up to me on Monday, I'm actually going to discuss later on in this live stream when it comes to the sports mecca of America. And I know Bio was in there, as well as who else was in the room that day on Monday? Bio, baseball purist. If I forgot, I don't know if Val was in there. I don't think Brent was in there. I think I'm missing somebody else. But anyway, I'll touch on that later on and get to what I have on the agenda as far as today's live stream goes. I see a comment there. Val, do I think the Giants are going to win today? Let me see who the pitching matchup is. And in fact, you got a bunch of afternoon baseball, which I love. Let's see if the Mets can sweep the Angels before they go out west. They play the Giants. That's right, Val. Mets are coming to your neck of the woods to play the Giants this weekend. So I'll be all over that series. Then they go down the coast to play the Padres. Oh, man, in a perfect world, wouldn't it be great for me just to get on a plane, go to San Francisco? I know some people outside of San Francisco live about 45 minutes east and then go drive down the Pacific Highway, PCH, where I believe that's one of the more scenic and beautiful drives you could ever do. And yes, to go past U-Bio, maybe I have to stop by and say hello, but then go down to San Diego to watch the Mets play the Padres. I tell you, if in a perfect world, I would do that. Maybe one day I will, especially for what it is that I'm doing. But of course, still trying to generate income, still trying to find my footing here. Not necessarily with what it is that I do, but more so just from a fiscal standpoint. So obviously, I do not have the resources at this moment to do such an ambitious plan and to execute that as of right this very second. But let me see. Giants are playing the Braves. Oh, it's an afternoon. Yeah, 12:15. And you already have, what is it, 12:05? Reds and Nationals. You have Padres, Marlins. You have San Francisco, Atlanta. And let me see the pitching matchup there, because then I can give you a better idea. Not to say that that's going to be the end-all be-all, because these pitchers aren't going 7, 8, 9 innings like they did once upon a time. But at least I could give you a better feel to see who I think will win the game. Atlanta is pitching, as I scroll here, Spencer Strider and Justin Verlander, and I understand he's pitching some bad luck, but he's 0-8, and his ERA is 5. So I have to say that it looks like it's going to be rough sledding. But then again, you could also look at the other side as Justin Verlander's due to win a game. And with the Giants snapping out of that funk, finally winning a game out of the All-Star break, who knows? Maybe they'll win this one before, I believe they go back home, don't they? Obviously, yes, against the Mets. I was just thinking maybe if they had another game in Atlanta, but no, it's a 3-game series. So, yes, with the afternoon, obviously, getaway day. Come on, J-Reels. Do the math. 2 and 2 together. What does that get? Swilling 5. So, that's what we have with the – and what is this Tua? Oh, all right. Some news about Tua Tagovailoa. James D., what's going on? Yes, sir. Let's go Mets. Let's get a sweep. How about it? I would hope so. And I see your other comment, James. I'm going to get to that in a second. Now, Brent, so what you're saying is you don't want to see at 7 or higher. At a 7 or higher. So wait, you want to see, when you're talking about 7, you're talking, obviously you're talking scale of 1 to 10, but just to be clear, when you say a 7 or higher, as far as what I bring, as far as my excitement, what I exude, or are you referring to something else? Got to clarify. It's the old brain is trying to function there, with the hamster in the wheel, and you got some cobwebs in there. So I'm trying to make myself just a little bit more clear as to what it is that you're trying to say so I can give you a proper response. But who knows? Listen, if I'm not doing this, if what you're referring to, Brent, is that if I'm not doing this at a high level, or if I'm not doing this the way I should and have been doing so, then I got to find something else to do. Because if I were to come on here and say, all right, well, in baseball today, I have the Padres and Marlins and Atlanta. They're going to see if they could take the series out of San Francisco. You tune me out in a second. You'd fall asleep. You wouldn't even bother. And I get it. There's something for everybody. Maybe somebody likes to have that relaxed or very just slow delivery. This is sports. It's fast. It's furious. It's action-packed. It's back and forth. It's all that. So if you could clear that up, Brent, I'd appreciate it. And James D., me that J-Reels hat. You know what? Maybe I'll do it. I have a few in stock. And you know what? James D., and for everybody that's in the room now, next week I'll do a giveaway. How about that? Anger, passion, yes. That's what I want to see, Brent, and I appreciate that. And of course, anything less than put it this way, if I'm below an 8, then you know something's wrong with me. Or something's wrong with whatever. And even then, even if I'm going through the worst morning or having a bad day, and there's been times that podcasts I've had to, usually I record in the morning as early as 9:30. And that's, I know I'm all over the map because I started with the podcast pregame, and then here we are talking about the comments and all this other stuff. And trust me, I'll get back to that. So my apologies for just being all over the map right now. But for me, doing what it is that I do, if I'm not going to do it with passion or even anger or excitement, with fire, fury, all that, then why am I here? Why bother? And it's organic. I'm not going to just be like that guy that you'll see on ESPN or some other podcast or some other networks that are just going to act like a fool, a buffoon, grab their head. I can't believe what I just saw. Or you mean to tell me that? No. We don't want to manufacture any of that. We want for it to be natural. We want it to be as authentic and also, more importantly, credible, knowledgeable, and entertaining. Because if I do anything less than that, then people are going to see right through it. And the last thing I want to do is to not be any of those things that I mentioned. And also to do it with integrity, because integrity is very important. Because if I'm not going to be true to what it is that I'm talking about, and that's why I've come out with a lot of these critique videos with the other content creators or even personalities for that matter that have come out. And I just put up one yesterday, which hasn't really done well. Not that I expected it to do well. It was Mike Tannenbaum. He was on Get Up, the former NFL GM. He had made a comment about the Steelers being all in after TJ Watt signed his record contract the other day. And I said to myself, all in? It's like, have you been under a rock? No, I didn't use those words. I can say that now. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I found it appalling to think that it took all off season for the Steelers to not only trade for DK Metcalf and then give him a $150 million deal, to not only that, to bring in Aaron Rodgers, which was no secret and no surprise, but then to trade for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, and all of what they did this offseason, he had to have his stamp of approval on TJ Watt being the last piece to think that the Steelers are all in and trying to see what they could do in 2025 in the NFL. I mean, come on. I thought that was preposterous. So I have a commentary video on that, or excuse me, a critique video on that. I have a commentary video coming out tomorrow on the YouTube channel at JReels. So, of course, if you haven't subscribed, please do so, the whole nine. I'm going to get to a couple of those comments in a second. James D, I see you. Brent as well, Val. So when I look at just doing sports talk, and I understand there's a million people like me out there, which is even more the reason why I profusely thank you guys and gals for those who are watching, or even the replay for that matter, if they're watching this at night or they're watching this while they're on the treadmill, who knows. But yeah, I'm not trying to fool anybody. I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I'm not a quote unquote personality for the sake of being a personality. No, this is me. So even if I bumped into you on the street, or with the Lord's will, I have an event that I understand a lot of you would have to fly out to, but let's just say for argument's sake, I did a tour where I go to various cities and sit down with whether it be former or current athletes in a venue space, and it's back and forth. And if I were to meet you face to face, I'd be the same way. So it's not a thing where I'd see you be like, hey, what's going on, Bio? Or, hey, what's going on, Val? Oh, Brent, yeah, man. Hey, nice to meet you. No, I'm going to be excited as hell because you're taking the time out to watch me, listen to me, follow me, etc. And come on, if I'm not going to display any type of excitement or passion or fire, etc., then one more time, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? So I know I'm getting off like a million tangents right now. So I appreciate you sticking with me to this point. So James D, all right, with the JReels hat, next Wednesday, and I'm going to make that a highlight. I'm going to do a giveaway. And it's funny because when I think back to the anniversary show that I had in March, and I wanted to do giveaways, and I had 2 trivia questions which were unanswered at the time. And I said, I'm going to pick this up. Well, guess what? I'm going to pick it up next week. So mark your calendars. A week from today, July 30th, the next live stream, I will have my first giveaway. And that giveaway will be this JReels hat. And it has the website in the back, etc. So I understand it's not much. But again, I wish I was rolling in dough. I wish I had more merchandise. I know I got the JReels t-shirt here. And I do have a few of those. Maybe that'll be the following week. So, yes, trust me, I have big plans for this podcast. I've been doing it well over 7 years. Now, the live streams I just started since February, but I have no ifs, ands, buts, maybes about or even doubt that I'm going to stop doing the live streams. And obviously, going back to what I said before, and I'll get to the comments in a second, one more time. Let me put this in a nice, tidy box with a ribbon on top. 9:30 tomorrow, Eastern time, or roughly, maybe a little bit before, a little podcast pregame. So whatever it is that's on your mind, whatever you think, hey, JReels, did you hear what happened last night? Or you're going to talk about this. And I may even share my thoughts during that. I will share my thoughts during the live stream on whatever that's going on in sports or whatever that's happened. I don't know. People want to talk about, sadly, I kind of hate to bring this up, not to go off on another tangent. I promise I'll be 30 seconds or less. But the terrible, sad news and tragic passing of Malcolm Jamal Warner, drowned Costa Rica. I'm sure you know by now. And obviously a lot of outpouring, tributes, etc. And I was never a Cosby Show fan. I mean, of course, I was around when the Cosby Show aired, but I never fully watched. Not much of a TV guy. I've watched my TV shows over the year, but Cosby didn't really, and that was before all the allegations and truths or whatever you want to call it. So if you guys want to bring that up, hey, did you hear about that or whatever? Ozzy Osbourne yesterday, both of those guys, rest in peace. Yeah, doesn't matter. But obviously we're here for sports. We're here to chop it up. We're here to banter back and forth, all the good stuff that we've been doing here over the course of the last now, dating back to February. We're going on 6 months, which is great. And one more time, live stream. Of course, share your thoughts in the chat room. I'll post on screen as I've been doing. And for those who aren't here live but are listening or watching the replay, please leave a comment. I'll follow up. More than happy to, as I look forward to that. Now, let me get to the comments before I get to the agenda here and the topics. Let's see. What do we got here? Anger, passion. Why is Justin Verlander pitching? Wait, one more time. Why is Justin Verlander pitching? Well, it's been quite a few starts where he's not gotten a lot of run support, Val. But at the same time, and I see a new name in there. I got to give a shout out to Virjana Popovich, which I'll get you your comment, and baseball purist in the house. I love it. But Virjana, I thank you so much for stopping by. I love it when new people come to the chat room or come to the live. So I'm ecstatic right now. But as far as Verlander, again, he has not gotten a lot of run support, or not, I should say a lot. In the starts, I'd have to go back and check, but I know that there was quite a few starts where he got little to no run support, and the other starts he just hasn't pitched well. And listen, he's 41 years of age. He's not going to dial it up to 98, 99 like he once did. Now, I understand he's going to be more of a location pitcher. He's got to hit his spots. If he doesn't hit his spots, he's going to be in trouble. And yeah, I know that curve could put you to sleep, and he may occasionally knock that slider off, but he's not the same guy. And it's a shame because you'd only hope that this was going to be it for him. You don't want Verlander to latch on to another team. And I got to see, what is his lifetime record? I mean, I don't even know how many wins he is from. I'm sure he's got a ways to go to 300. Maybe not that far off. Let me look at his numbers. But for Verlander, let's see, career stats. Yeah, no, he's not getting 3. He's 262 on 155. His ERA is 3.34. Listen, we know he's a Hall of Famer. I understand the ERA is a little bit high. I get it. And this year is a year you got to scrap. His whip is 1.5, which is awful. And his career whip is 1.1. And his ERA is close to 5, as we mentioned, 0-8. Listen, you just only hope that this is going to be it for him. He's had a Hall of Fame career, won an MVP, Cy Youngs, World Series. He's done it all. So that's the reason why he's been in the starts that he's been good. His offense has let him down. And in the games that hasn't been good, he's gotten lit up. And that's pretty much Verlander's story there, Val, here in 2025. All right, James D. Funny thing, I was wearing the shirt and someone asked, is that Obama? Is that right? No way. That's interesting. I know. Please, if I look like Obama, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but that is funny. But not James. Next week, definitely we'll do the giveaway with the hat for sure. All right, Brent. I think that's why we're here. Don't change a thing, my man. Thank you so much. As always, appreciated. And Marjana, greetings. I mean that sincerely. Thank you so much for stopping by. I mean, and wait till I get to your next comment, because I'm sure people probably see that in the chat room. And I'm sure you guys see what you see in there, right? Or is it just me? Because before I even get to her next comment, baseball purist, my guy, I'm going to get to your question that we talked about on Monday's podcast pregame. That's going to be later on, if you recall. So, yes, in LFGM, let's get a sweep of the Angels today, which will begin in about 50 minutes. But Marjana, she found me on YouTube, and we started talking about tennis and Novak Djokovic. And as you could see from her, don't understand b-ball, that's baseball. Now she knows basketball, and she's here to support me. So, and from Serbia, of all places. So, Mirjana, I thank you. And I understand everybody in the room is probably thinking the same thing. Like, oh, wow. Maybe not thank you, but from the standpoint of that, I profusely thank everybody who hops on board. I don't take any of you guys or gals for granted. So much appreciate you stopping by for sure. And yes, rest in peace to Big Ozzy. I know, the Prince of Darkness, as we know. And then Mirjana, not Mirjana. Okay, Mirjana, but not mad. No, you're welcome. And Mirjana, I will not mispronounce your name. My apologies there. So, Ozzy was the best, no doubt. We know about all his albums. Bark at the Moon was one of my favorites. And then Crazy Train. Oh, yeah. If he doesn't retire after this year, then, I mean, what is he going to hang on to? Listen, who as fans do we have the right to say that somebody should retire? But sadly, the eyes tell you. And who knows? He may try to latch onto another team for the league minimum, for all I know. But he should call it quits. I'll just be kind and say it that way. Yes, Mirjana. Love back. My guy Peter is watching through Facebook. Yeah, I actually connected it through Facebook as well. Thank you. I appreciate that, Peter. Go way back, going back to the early 90s, in fact. And then J Reel's around the world. I know. I love it. And listen, whatever part of the world I could reach, that's why, for those who listen to my podcast, and even when I get to the end of the live streams, I always come out and say, from the South Bronx to South Beach to South Central to South Pacific and all points beyond, because obviously it's just not all based here in the US of A. Of course, we do have other parts of the world and many other parts of the world that need to be acknowledged. And obviously with my guy Brent, who just made a mention here, from Canada. So maybe I should say from South Ontario too. I don't know. But even though they're north of us, but I have that whole connection to the South because I go from South Bronx, New York to South Beach, Miami to South Central LA, obviously to the South Pacific, which could be out past Hawaii to the nether regions of this planet. And then now we have Serbia in the house. So, and as a matter of fact, what time is it in Serbia right now, Mirjana? If you could answer that. If I had to take a guess, you got to be, 8 hours ahead? So it's got to be, like 8:23? That's my guess. And what's the weather like, too? Because I'm curious. If you could put that in the chat, please leave that there. But let me get to the topics of the day. And I know, Mirjana, you're going to be lost here with the baseball, but I got to start there because we are now, count them, 8 days to the baseball trade deadline. And I'm a little bit surprised that there haven't been some activity. Now, I'm not going to include the Rafael Devers trade. To me, that was more of an anomaly only because the Red Sox, they were probably through, not probably, they were through with Devers dating back to spring training and all of the soap opera that was. Oh, he's going to play first base. Oh, he's not going to play first base. And now it is. I believe he's going to play. If he didn't play first base last night in Atlanta, and I'll double check that, but he is going to play first base because of what I read yesterday. Devers DH is DHing today. Let me see if he DH'd last night because, and I didn't read the full article. Yeah, Devers did play first base last night. And what did he do? He was 2 for 5 with an RBI. And yeah, so if I was Bob Melvin, the manager, I would put him at first base again because maybe he has another 2 hits in his bat to try to get a victory and leave the ATL with a series win. But yeah, I am a little bit surprised, and I see comments there. I'll get to them, I promise. I'm a little surprised that there hasn't been any activity. Now, I'm sure that's going to change once we get starting tomorrow, I would think, because then you're a week away, and I'm sure there are teams just trying to do what they can to add reinforcements to their ball clubs to make sure that they either get into the playoffs or they're already playoff teams to see if they get a deep playoff run and then obviously get to a World Series and win it all. And the only thing I'll say as of right now is I'm not going to look at the rumor mill and think that it's going to be a situation where these trades are going to happen sooner than later. And of course, the biggest one, which is the worst kept secret, I know the Yankees trying to pursue a third baseman, Eugenio Suarez from Arizona, maybe even Zach Gallen, who is a pitcher that would be a rental to come to the Yankees. And who would the Yankees give up? Will they give up Cam Schlittler, the guy who pitched last night against the Blue Jays, a young promising arm? Do they give up a guy like Spencer Jones, who is right now raking in AAA and is doing a big-time number? A lot of people think he's the left-handed Aaron Judge. So that is obviously big-time praise for the outfielder, which if he was on the big club today, he'd probably be in left field, where you have him, Dominguez, and Judge, and that is a pretty interesting outfield when you look at it from a homegrown standpoint and guys that would swing and carry big sticks. So, but again, we have to wait and see what's going to happen there as far as with the rumors. And even though as fans, we all love the rumor mill. Oh, wow. Are they really thinking of trading this guy? Oh, wow. This person's available, etc. And chances are when the rumors really start to percolate, the likelihood of guys being traded, it does happen. But all we can do as fans is kind of wait, even hope for that matter, especially if you're a team like the Mets, my beloved Metsies, and I'm sure James D. And I see the comments are piling up, and I'll get to them. Between James and Baseball Purist, I'm sure you're probably throwing a few names at me already, or you're probably coming up with some scenarios. As we all know, with the Mets, what they need is bullpen help. And to me, that's number one. I get it. You could talk rotation. Now, I don't know if David Stearns, unless it's either an offer he can't refuse or a guy that the other team is just willing to trade to your ball club, which I don't know who's going to want to help out the Mets. But I would think that with Kodai Senga, although he didn't pitch well the other night, Dave Peterson, now you have Frankie Montas in the mix. Yeah, not so good last night, or at least for starters, because he had that slow start. And Clay Holmes, you would think that their rotation, provided that it stays healthy, even without Tyler McGill and Griffin Canning, et cetera, that's what's going to be your rotation. Now, your bullpen, obviously, you're going to need some big-time help. And I know the Ryan Staneks of the world, they just designated Chris Davinsky for assignment. So they're going to need to bring a guy or two bodies in to come out of that bullpen to at least help out and try to be a spark down the stretch to see whether or not that they can hold some of these leads for Edwin Diaz, who Diaz is having a good year. And he's actually having a better than good year. But we know Diaz is going to be graded in October, because if he could have a great season, he could put up that season that he did in 2022 prior to him hurting his knee. But we didn't really see the Edwin Diaz in the postseason. He saved the one game for Jacob deGrom in that middle wildcard game against the Padres. But we all know, and then last year, I know, all right, he saved against the Phillies to clinch the division. The divisional series, I get it. But we know in him, it's about the playoffs. And with your bullpen now, obviously you're going to need him for the postseason. You don't have to worry about last year, the Phil Matons of the world, and even Jose Butos for that matter. And, you know, that was such a disaster. But we could only hope that David Stearns will bring in not just a guy, a couple of guys to fortify that bullpen and be sure that they'll be as stacked as they possibly can be going into the postseason. And the same can be said in Philadelphia. They need a closer as well, because the Jordan Romanos of the world are not cutting it for them, but that's for them to worry about. And yeah, if you're the Mets, yeah, would you like another stick in the lineup? I'd say yes, just to add some more length. Francisco Alvarez with a home run last night, which was good because he's a guy that has a lot of potential. As you know, 25 home runs a couple of years ago and really did not do well to start off the year. I understand he had that hamate bone issue in his wrist and had to get sent down, but he was on a tear at Syracuse in AAA. And now he's come back, and hopefully he's found his stroke, and he adds more length to that lineup to go along with Lindor and Soto and Nimmo and Alonso, et cetera. And all I could say is that if you're a Met fan here over the next week, and obviously next Wednesday, we'll talk a lot about the moves that have been made and who knows what could be on the horizon over the course of the next 24 hours at that time. But I'll be on top of it. And as far as even the Yankees go, not that I'm obviously have any interest for the Yankees, but with the whole Eugenio Suarez and maybe even bringing in Zach Gallen, that will have to wait and see, because they could also use another bat. I know Giancarlo's back. He had a home run there the other night. And Jazz Chisholm still rakes. But again, Chisholm, he's so feast or famine type player. And, Dominguez is another one. He's a young player. To me, the Yankees, yes, I could see them trying to get another starter, more so than a reliever. But Brian Cashman is going to have all his doors open for whatever could come through, whether it be another bat, reliever, starter, etc. But I think he's probably going to go more third base, starter, reliever, I would think, in that order. And who knows if he's going to be successful. Now, if I'm Arizona, I'd say Spencer Jones has to be in that deal. Cam Schlittler is going to be, at least you would think. But if Spencer Jones is not in that deal, I want no deal. And I get it that the Diamondback GM may have his hands tied, because with Gallen being a free agent, and I believe Suarez also a rental this year and a free agent after this year, it's a scenario where he's going to have to get rid of both of them, and he wants to get something back in return, even if it means he doesn't get Spencer Jones. But at the same time, try to fleece what you can, because the Yankees, even though they have Dominguez in the fold as well as Judge, but Cody Bellinger, who's actually having a very good year and has actually been torrid over the last month, maybe he'll give the Yankees something to think about as far as maybe signing him for next year and beyond. Now, I get it. You're going to have to pay him $20-25 million a year, maybe for a 4-year deal for $100 million. Do the Yankees want to go that route, or do they want to bring up the young Spencer Jones next year, not have to worry about paying him until he gets to his arbitration-eligible years, and then obviously 6 years from then when he's a free agent? So obviously that's what the Yankees to deal with, but all plausible scenarios when it comes to what is happening, not only just with the Bombers, but also with the Amazons. So we'll wait to see what's going to happen there. Now, before I get to the next topic, let me get to these comments here. Always look forward to these. Let's see. Oh, 5 o'clock. Oh, so you're only 5 hours ahead, Murjana. So it is 5:32:33 now, currently. Okay. I thought it would be later than that. And it's sunny. Now, what is the temperature Celsius? Because obviously here in the States, we go by Fahrenheit. And I know it's like 2.5 times Celsius. Is it hot? How about that? And when I say hot, is it shorts and T-shirt weather? I would think so. I mean, it is summer everywhere. Oh, sorry, 6. And the sun is great. So it's 6 o'clock. Okay, 6 hours. All right. And Murjana saying hello to Brent. So from Serbia to Canada. All right. And with the extra wild card, yeah, of course, James. Now, obviously, you got the teams that are in the bottom of the barrel, the Colorados, the Pittsburghs, the Miamis. Although Miami's been feisty, but they're not going to make the postseason. But, yeah, that's the thing. With that extra wild card, it certainly does factor in. Matt Chadwick. Oh, you're rocking it right now, Val? Is that what you're wearing? Your third baseman? Wearing his jersey? Yes, Brent. Always supportive. Yes, good. Thank you so much. Great to see everybody in the chat room. This is actually the most active I think I've ever seen it, which, again, it's a testament to you guys and gals, your dedication for hopping on board. So I know, again, another thank you. Maybe I should just put that at the bottom, right? So I just put a thank you at the bottom throughout the whole live stream, so I don't have to repeat myself 1,000 times, although I don't mind. So now, Giants next game, San Francisco, will be a good series. Now, Val, are you going to go to any of the games? And how far do you live from the stadium? I think I've asked you that before. So if you could answer me that, how far you live from the stadium, and will you go? Messi, the center fielder, and a bullpen arm. I know the one center fielder, if I'm not baseball purist, may have brought this up. And I'm sure it could be ripe for the taking, considering that he is a rental. The Mets wouldn't have to give up that much. And I understand he's got pop. He's a very good center field. His average is what, like 218 right now, which is not good. But he'll bat 7th in the order, which for his power, I mean, you'll take. But the sad part is you get to a postseason, and I could see him going like 1 for 15, is Cedric Mullins of the Orioles. I think he'd be a good fit. He's a left-handed bat too, so you balance the lineup in that regard. because you got Tyrone Taylor who bats right-handed. So even if you did some sort of platoon with those two guys, at least Mullins could bat from the left side, Tyrone Taylor from the right. I would think that that's a guy that maybe David Stearns has on his radar, but obviously I'm not the GM, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, and that and a bullpen armor too, James. I'm with you 1,000%. Merjana, I always follow you. I give you a like, even though I don't understand baseball, which is currently in the spotlight as far as I understand, waiting for basketball. Yes, and I don't have much basketball to talk about, although I could bring up one thing, which I will, and it's the WNBA. I'm actually going to talk about that later on, and I recorded a commentary video on that, so that's coming to the channel maybe as early as tomorrow morning before the podcast, so just keep that in mind. But Merjana, I can't say Shana, Merjana, do you watch the WNBA? And is there a women's game or is there women's basketball in Serbia? I'd be curious. Merjana, who do you root for in baseball? I will do the opposite. Maybe even softballing. Well, the team I root for in baseball are the New York Mets. That is my first love. Baseball is my first love. The Mets were my first love when it comes to sports. So, and they're going to be playing soon. So the New York Mets are my team. And they have not won a World Series since 1986. So it is right now, do the math, 39 years. Hopefully not and counting after this year. Hopefully they'll put that to rest, but then watch them wait another year because then it'll be the 40th anniversary to when they last won, and who knows. But I don't want to wait another year because we're not promised tomorrow. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. If you could guarantee that I'll be here next October and that the Mets are going to win a World Series, then fine. I'd sign up for it. I'd wait another year. But we all know there is no lock guarantee, even if you have a crystal ball that you can see from here to the other side of the world. So I want them to win this year. Case closed. All right, Val. I live in Pacific Grove, California. Not sure far. Oh, you know what? I got to look that up now. Pacific Grove. That sounds like a very nice area. All right, city in California. All right. I don't know why I'm fascinated by these people, so my apologies. Oh, Monterey. So you're north of Monterey, which that's not far from San Francisco. Right? No, it looks Carmel. Hold on. Oh, wait. Hang on. Santa Cruz. Oh, no, you're further than I thought. So you're south of San Francisco. Yeah, because San Jose is about what? Half hour south of that. So you're maybe about 40 minutes. You're about over an hour, I'd say, from San Francisco. I haven't made plans to go to the games. I might just watch. Oh, hey, I hear that. You're better off, right? You don't have to worry about traveling more than an hour, traffic, ticket prices, parking. I understand. So, all good. Oh, Merjana, that's okay. I will forgive you because the Yankees are my team that I hate the most. And just like you said in your previous post, that you'll do the opposites. But you know what? That's fine. I still respect you. I still applaud you. I still thank you. So it's quite all right. Yeah, you can root for whoever you want. You can root for all the teams that the teams that I hate. You can root for all those teams. Yankees, Ravens in football, basketball, Lakers. I hate the Lakers. Also hate the Knicks too. Sorry for James D and a few other people. But yeah, you can root for all those teams. That's quite all right. Just as long as you're here. And, of course, being supportive, that's all that matters. So, but I like that. You said, okay, Yankees, so I got a chuckle out of me. Yeah, look, I see you. Yes. Very good, Merjana. I love it. I love it. All right, Brent, what you got? Hey, Jay, when you get a chance after your schedule for today's show, I really think. No, I think that's an enormous pickup. And let me tell you something. The Nuggets, they've really done a lot to revamp their team. And they knew in the middle of the year last year that they had no bench. They even had no bench the year after they won the title because remember, Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, who's now back on the team, who won the title with them 2 years ago, those guys were gone. And those were key components to their championship team. And last year, obviously they fell short. Well, 2 years ago now, they fell short or 2 seasons ago. Let me make sure I got this right. Yeah, because I can't say last year because last year we're talking about this past season where OKC won the title. But the year before that, when the Celtics won, Denver went to the Western Conference semifinals where they lost to the Timberwolves, especially at home, and that was an awful loss. They went by 20, and they lost going into the third quarter. But bringing in Brown, they traded for Cam Johnson, So they got rid of Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Johnson, who was ecstatic. He said, "Oh, wow, I'm going to Denver. I can't wait to meet those guys and play with them." So you mean to tell me that a change of scenery wasn't a big thing for him? And then, like I mentioned, Bruce Brown and then Valanciunas, to me, Denver's going for it next year because they don't know how much more time they're going to have with Joker. There you go, Murjana. We're talking about Denver and Nikola Jokic from your neck of the woods. I think Denver is going to be – I think they're going to have a big year next year. Murray healthy. I think it'd be wise for them to even bring back Russell Westbrook. And what he was able to contribute last year is a guy that he knows he's in the twilight of his career, back 9, probably at hole 16 or 17 right now. But he knows his role. He knows where he's at. I'm sure he loves playing with Jokic. I would think that he's a guy that feels that team can win a title, and that's the one thing that's really missing from his resume is an NBA championship. So who knows if he's going to be able to stay, and it's not going to cost a lot either. So I think that would make a whole hell of a lot of sense. All right, let's see. What do we have? Yes. A couple of laughs there with Murjana. Matt Chap, yes, I know you're wearing that. That I already posted that. Hey, rooting for the Yankees, sweep the Phillies. Do them as a favor. Yes. But you know what, James? I know in my deep, dark, sadistic mind, I never want to see the Yankees win. I never do. But I understand. I'm not going to root for the Yankees to win. I'm going to root for the Phillies to lose. How about that? Because, yes, I want to be able to get back in first place. As if I'm on the team or I work for the organization, which, as we all know, I do not. All right, Brent. JV staying with the big. Yes, I totally agree. Now, for Valanciunas, and he's really, I mean, he's a very underrated player. I don't want to say he's underrated. People, when you watch basketball, you know the type of player he is. The guy's like, he's a walking double-double. So, yes, I could really see that being one of the more underrated pickups here this offseason. And yes, Murjana, Denver and Jokic, thank you. He's the pride of Serbia, like Novak, like Nikola Tesla. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Those two guys. And funny enough, Murjana and I are going to a little bit of a tangent here. When we first started talking through YouTube, I know she brought up Novak Djokovic. We were talking about the Wimbledon, and it was unfortunate that Djokovic had that injury there in the quarterfinal before losing in the semifinal to Jannik Sinner. And I wonder, and we even talked about it, I'm sure he's going to rest up. I'm sure he's going to be ready for the U.S. Open, but it's going to be tough to beat or have to beat both Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. That is going to be tough. And Brent Minnie, Minnesota. Yeah, can't forget them too. I mean, obviously, when you have Anthony Edwards, and I believe they just re-signed Julius Randle, so that was big. Yes, you're welcome. Go in there, Murjana. And then Brent, agree, bring him back. Yes. Wait, you're talking about Westbrook, RB? I'm sure you're talking, because then your next comment, when Russ had the ball, my TV's going to shake. Oh, yeah. He does. He plays at 100 miles an hour, Murjana. You know that. And Westbrook, even at his age, he's a high-energy guy. He is one of the more underrated athletic players that the game has seen because he's, 6'3", but he attacked the rim with fury, was fearless. I understand you could certainly question his shot selection and his, even to a certain extent, I don't want to go as far as saying his basketball IQ because the guy averaged, triple doubles in 3 or 4 NBA seasons. I mean, that's unheard of. I mean, at least in this day and age. I know Nikola Jokic, this year he averaged a triple double, but yeah, I mean, what more can you say about Westbrook and what he's been able to do throughout his career? Let's see. Baseball purist, my guy, your thoughts on the Athletic, the Eagles #1 in preseason power rankings? I guess it makes sense. It's not going out on a limb. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, because you're not going to put Buffalo there. Kansas City. Everybody's – think about this. NFL training camp's open today, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. it's a situation where even when the thought of Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, the Chiefs, I already have fatigue. And football has not been a part of our consciousness since what? The draft? And any game since the Super Bowl back in February. So I'm already chiefed out. I think it makes sense that the Eagles are there, number one. I mean, I know it's kind of a layup or a lazy take by the Athletic, but I'm not going to say Buffalo. You could say Baltimore. As much as I hate to say that, you could say the Ravens because they're a team that's ready to win now. And we know the cast of characters down in Baltimore. But a lot of people are going to say, no, Philly are better because they're the champs. And then, I mean, not that this matters, but Philly beat Baltimore in Baltimore last year. Not that that matters, but you could argue Baltimore. You certainly can, even more so than Buffalo, although Buffalo beat them in the divisional round. But I'm not going to lose sleep that they picked the Eagles. Now, did you see those Super Bowl rings, by the way? The most ostentatious, the most gaudy, the most, I mean, they had the wings popping out of the side, which, as I said on the podcast Monday, what's next? Can you imagine if let's pick a team here, a reasonable team. Let's just say Jim Harbaugh and the LA Chargers. Now, I don't think they're going to get to or even win a Super Bowl, but could you imagine, let's say if they do win a Super Bowl, what's going to happen? Are lightning bolts going to start flying out of the rings? Or if the Broncos win a Super Bowl, you're going to have a Bronco galloping outside of the ring or around it? I mean, what is happening here? And I get it that that's a different look to a Super Bowl ring. I actually like the wings on the side, but now that they pop out, seriously, what's that? Is it going to fly away? By the time, I hate to say it like this to be morbid, by the time we have transitioned, by the time we have left this earth, and I hope for everybody that's watching live or listening on a replay, we live for minimum another 50 years. Or if you're much younger, 100 years. Because I don't know. Val looks kind of young to me. Looks like he's in his 20s, so I don't want to cheat him out of 20, 30, or 40 years. But maybe then a Super Bowl ring will fly or will drive itself or will gallop across a desk or a table. I mean, you can't make it up. I love the comments, people. Keep it coming. Was surprised that Sacktown didn't keep him because JV. Yeah, and that was a good combo. Now, in Sacktown, they're a mess. I mean, to think they went to the playoffs 2 years ago. They got to a 7th game against the Warriors, and I understand they lost that game at home. Mind you, they won a game 6 on the road at Golden State, down 3-2. And brutal game 7 loss. I get it. Steph had 50 in a game. For them to fire their coach over what? Whatever difference of opinion, I don't even know. And I get it that the video surfaced, which I saw, of he and De'Aaron Fox. Supposedly they went at it, and it was a situation where the front office of the Kings had to do something. Do what? Did he point in his face? Did he tell him get the hell out of the gym? Then I would be like, whoa, all right, that's not that's a bit unusual there. I didn't see that, but I don't know. I mean, they got rid of him, and now look at Sacramento. They traded De'Aaron Fox. They obviously traded Valanciunas, and the team is just sadly a mess. Warriors haven't made any moves off season yet. Wondering if they'll do anything, Val. I know the big name is Jonathan Kuminga. Whether or not, and I think he's a restricted free agent, so you're going to have to give up something in order to get him. And I don't know if they have re-signed him or not as of this moment. And Kuminga actually played well when Steph got hurt, especially in the postseason last year. And he's a good young player. Now, I don't know why he was buried on the bench there with Steve Kerr, but the only thing I could say is that Kuminga is the one guy, if I'm the Warriors, that I want to resign. And then I know there were a lot of rumblings about Al Horford maybe going to Golden State, which Horford right now is still a free agent, and he hasn't re-signed with the Celtics, although the Celtics have talked about maybe bringing him back for one more year. And I don't know why, to be honest with you, and that has nothing to do with Al Horford. As a lifelong Celtic fan, if they're going to, Celtics going to bring back Al Horford, they need to have a big man in place. They need to have a guy that's going to play the bulk of the minutes. You can't have a guy that's 39, about to be 40 years old. If a guy goes out, gets hurt a game or two, that's fine. But if he's going to be out for any significant amount of time, you can't have Horford playing 32, 34, 35 minutes a night. Come on. It's unfair. So unless the Celtics get that young guy that's there that could play big minutes, and I know Neemias Queta, is he going to be the guy that's going to step up and be a producer, whether at the offensive or defensive ends of the floor? I don't know. And I'm sure he's probably playing Summer League. I think Summer League is over by now. But, yeah, it is over because what you call it with the champs. Who are the champs? Not that this matters. Funny enough, was it Sacramento? If somebody can help me out with that. But anyway, I know Summer League is over. But, yeah, if the Celtics are going to bring back Horford, they got to bring him back from the standpoint of him just coming off the bench playing 15, 18 minutes a game, not 32 to 35 minutes. Brent, yes, 2 seasons ago. Absolutely. And what was it? Wasn't Denver up 2-0? They lost 3 in a row. They won in Minnesota, game 6, and then they were up by 20, game 7 in their building and lost. I mean, that's as bad as it gets. Henry from the Ravens has been a beast. I know. And he killed the Steelers last year, especially in that wild card game. Oh, my God. And right now, I'm just having just terrible flashbacks. That first half of Steelers-Ravens in the wild card game was as bad of a first half as I've seen the Steelers ever play. And I've watched the Steelers dating back to the 70s, and I've watched just about every game since 1992. And all you need to know about that first half, the Ravens from the line of scrimmage had 306 yards to the Steelers' 60. Need I say more? Merjana, Golden State will do something. Val B, they must. Oh, they have to because the West is loaded. We just talked about Denver. Obviously, you have the defending champs. Houston got KD. I don't know. Does that mean that they're going to have a long playoff run? I would say as a right this very second, probably not. And when I say long run, conference finals, I'm not saying the second round and get to a game 7. I'm saying conference finals and beyond. Who knows with the Lakers as they bring in Marcus Smart, former Celtic. And Val is like, hey. And yes, they haven't re-signed him, so there you go. He is a restricted free agent that I recall. And Brent, hey, Val, I heard 2 weeks ago that deal with Sacramento for Kuminga. Now, I wonder, would they make a trade, Sacramento and Golden State? Because even though it's not a rivalry, but the proximity of both cities, I believe they're, 90 miles? And I'm sure the Kings fans, they cannot stand Golden State or their fans. No offense, Val, it has nothing to do with you, just the fan base overall. Because if I'm a lifelong Sacramento Kings fan, the last thing I want to see is a Warrior jersey or any success by the team. And, Steph loves Keegan Murray. Yeah, Murray's a good player, too. 100%. Merjana, trade Butler or something, keep Kuminga. Well, I think, didn't Butler sign that 2-year extension, $112 million, something along those lines? Now I'm with you, Merjana, and I like Butler. I think Butler, he is not, make sure I say this right, and I've said this before on the podcast, but Butler is a very good player. I'll go as far as saying he's above average, but he is wildly inconsistent. He's now, 36 years of age. I understand he's in great shape, but for a guy that wants to think that he's a top 15, 20 player in the sport, he has to do a lot more. And all you got to do is just look back at those games in the conference semifinals against the T-Wolves. Because I think in one of the games he was good. I think game 1 with Curry. After that, the guy was invisible. He did nothing in the games. Shot 5 for 16. He had 13 points. I mean, come on. And again, Jimmy Butler is not to be confused with the Joker and Nikola Jokic. I think of Joker, I think of Novak Djokovic. With Jokic, Giannis, Luka, Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, SGA. No, he is definitely nowhere near that class of player. To me, he's below 15. He's probably somewhere between 15 and 30, maybe somewhere in the 20s, between 20 and 25, if I went through the list of players in the league. But I don't think they're going to trade. I'd be surprised if they do Butler, because the reason why they brought him there was to add some veteran leadership. Not that the Warriors need it, because obviously with Steph there and all the titles and their DNA, et cetera, but another guy who is about the team, that's going to buy in, which he did, especially during the regular season. But then, and I understand he fell, he hurt his tailbone. And what game was that against Houston? It was game 2, one of those games. But yeah, they should keep Kuminga regardless, but I don't know if they're going to trade Butler. I'd be surprised there. James, you hit around the head. Not only last gasp, they're becoming the geriatric Clippers. You got Harden, Kawhi, and now you bring in Bradley Beal, who I understand was 32, so he's still relatively young. And then you bring in Chris Paul, who's 40. And I understand there's a connection there between Paul and the organization. Remember, Chris Paul was there when Donald Sterling was the owner. So that just goes to show you how long it's been since he's been an LA Clipper. But yeah, last gas for sure. Brent, exactly 90 miles, Sacramento to the Bay Area. Buckets didn't really get a chance with Steph, well, especially in the postseason, because I know he hurt himself and then Steph was out. So Butler had to carry the load, and that was one thing he did not do, especially in that series against the T-Wolves. And then Warriors, do you think Kuminga is traded or stays with the team? That's a good question. If I'm the GM, I wouldn't trade Kuminga. And I'm not trying to make Kuminga out to be a top 10 player or anything, but you have a young player. You have a young asset. And I get it. You could bring back something good. But the thing is that his stock right now is in the middle. Granted, he had a couple of 30-point performances in the series against the Timberwolves, but we haven't really seen him flourish on his own with the team. And when I mean on his own, not from a high-volume individual point-scoring aspect, more so individual to see him play on the court to defend, rebound, shoot. We want to see what he's truly capable of. And he was buried on the bench there toward the end of the season, especially once they got Butler. And then when Curry got hurt, he played a lot. And yes, he did show signs and showed flashes of a guy that could certainly be productive, but at the same time, it was just a small sample size that you couldn't really get a better feel or a big feel for him to be on a team on that particular stage that you could really say, yeah, Kuminga is that guy that if I were to trade for him, he could be a number 2, no worse than a number 3 player on your team. I don't think he's a 1. Could he potentially play up to that? He could, but I don't see it. But when you have Steph on the team, when you have Butler on the team, and even to a lesser degree, but Draymond, Kuminga is going to fall below those guys because he is younger and more upside. Steph isn't going to get any better. Draymond Green, for God's sake, he's certainly not going to get any better. And Jimmy Butler the same. These guys are all in their 30s. And we know Steph's going to continue to shoot the hell out of the rock. We know that he's an all-time great, all those things. But it's not as if Steph Curry is back in 2016. He's going to have his nagging injuries now. He's going to have the ankles, the hamstrings, the groins, the calves, you name it. And he can work out 24/7. But all it takes is that one step, and there you go. He's going to be out for 2-3 weeks at a time. So it's tough. But I would say I'd keep him. That'd be my answer. But would I be surprised he gets traded? No, I wouldn't. Brent, hey, Val, not sure Kuminga wants to stay. Yeah, that's a good point. Yep. No, hey, listen, Brent, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Small sample size, but still, who knows? I'm sure there's a team out there that looks at what he did in those few games and will be willing to take a risk. But the thing is that here it is, July 23rd? And there hasn't been a peep. Nobody's talked about a trade. There hasn't been any rumors. There hasn't been anything that has come to the forefront on Kuminga either being traded or what have you. Murjana. Oh, wow, 4 kids. Nice. Merjana, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Hopefully stop by next Wednesday and maybe even tomorrow, 9:30 Eastern. Just a brief overview of the podcast for tomorrow, my little podcast pregame, if you want to jump on then. If not, I'll be back same time next week and a giveaway too. So keep that in mind. So thank you, Merjana. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Yes. Thank you, Brent. Love it here. Love the community. Love this. Please. I don't even know what else to say. I'm ecstatic. All right. Let me get to a couple other things before I bid adieu. And I actually got a few more things. It's 1 o'clock. I know the Mets are going to start in 10 minutes. Not that matters, because right now what matters is in front of me. Training camp's open today. Throughout all the 32 teams will be in pads, or maybe not with the CBA. I would think in pads, as they get ready for another long season. And listen, I know I've killed the NFL. I'm not ready for the sport to start. A week from tomorrow is the Hall of Fame game between the Chargers and Lions. Ugh. Will I even watch? Absolutely not. They could play right here in my living room, and I wouldn't watch, because preseason football is an absolute snooze. So when it comes to training camp, I know a lot of the storylines are going to be about the new faces and the new places and the situations where you have young quarterbacks that are trying to see what they do in year two, the Caleb Williams of the world, especially in Chicago. And then obviously a guy like Bryce Young, who 2 years ago was drafted as well, and to see what his progress is going to be like. Drafted the same year with Caleb. No, he's drafted before Caleb Williams. Justin Fields in New York with the Jets. Obviously, that was going back to 2021. And even the new faces such as Sam Darnold in Seattle. What is J.J. McCarthy going to do now that he's got a year under his belt, despite the fact that he was hurt last year in Minnesota, right? Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. Oh, excuse me. My apologies there, people. Right, you have all these different storylines coming into camp. Hopefully nobody gets injured. No key injuries to report from now until we get to September the 4th, which that is what? 6 weeks from tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. If I do the math correctly, what's tomorrow? The 24th. So you got 31st, 7th, 14, 20, 128. Yeah, 6 weeks from tomorrow, the NFL season begins. Can you even wrap your head around that? I mean, here we are. We're not even out of July, and football's going to start in 6 weeks. That kind of hurts my head a little bit. And it's nothing against the NFL. It's just that I'm not ready for summer to finish. And granted, it's going to come to a halt. But with that being said, I know everybody's geeked up for football. Everybody's pumped and ready. Now, we still got a ways to go. I understand 6 weeks will be here before you know it. But there's still plenty of time for teams to either make moves. You have the big cut day, which is the latter part of August, 2 weeks prior to the start of the season. Then, of course, you have college football, which is coming soon. Oh, I tell you. And once you get into September, that's when it's really going to be on the up and up, because sports right now, as we know, we're going through that dead zone 2.0. Other than baseball and WNBA, you don't have much. So you will have a tennis tournament at the end of August there with the U.S. Open. If you're into the Little League World Series, I am not. And no more golf tournaments. Obviously, all the majors now are in the books for 2025. So, yeah, training camp is going to be where it's at right now. And how I look at it is, and I see some comments, I'll get to them in a second. And how I look at that is just get me to September 7th. And I understand the season starts September the 4th. Dallas at Philadelphia. I was hoping that would be the Lions and Eagles. That would have been a great week one game. Dallas and Philly, we've seen it a million times. And I'm going to get to my next thing, because I get it that the news cycle in the NFL is Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. But here's a case where, is Micah Parsons wrong for not getting his extension? And I don't know what Jerry's doing. I know that there could be some Jedi mind tricks. And I would think similar to what we saw last year, where Dak Prescott, I believe, signed his deal, his extension, on the plane ride from Dallas to Cleveland prior to their week one game against the season opener against the Browns. I could see Micah Parsons signing his extension, which could end up being the biggest contract in NFL history not named by a quarterback. We know TJ Watt just got that last week. 3 years, $123 million, 100 and whatever, 5 guaranteed. Annual average is $41 million. That was a little bit more than what Myles Garrett got. Myles Garrett got more than Max Crosby. And those are 3 guys that are in Parsons' class, not draft, just as far as pass rushers go. So you got those 3 guys that got paid this offseason. And Micah Parsons is still waiting. I mean, if you're Jerry Jones, what are you doing there? I know you're not trying to look under your seat cushions or trying to break piggy banks open to see if you can afford this guy, considering that you're paying Dak Prescott a fortune, considering you're paying Trayvon Diggs a fortune, considering you're paying CeeDee Lamb a fortune. And I'm sure there's an offensive lineman or defensive lineman as well. The DeMarcus Lawrences of the world, I'm sure you're paying them big money. No, DeMarcus Lawrence went to Seattle. Did he not? I believe he did. Yes. So obviously you don't have to worry about him. But for Jerry Jones, if this guy is arguably the best pass rusher out there, and quite frankly, those 4 between Watt, Garrett, Crosby, and Parsons, you could pick them out of a hat. And I'm sure if you were to draft a team tomorrow, if you picked Watt's name, Parsons' name, Garrett, or Crosby, you will be over the moon, because those guys by far are the most premier pass rushers in the sport. But what are you doing? And this is when a Cowboy fan gets just tired of the carnival and circus act that is the Dallas Cowboys, that where Jerry Jones, who goes on all these radio shows and says what he says, and I don't have the recent quote or the latest quote from him, but, he's just going to take a sweet time. And I bet you literally hours before the start of the season, maybe when they're flying from Dallas to Philadelphia, the Wednesday prior to the Thursday night season opener, that Parsons will get a deal comparable to TJ Watt or Myles Garrett for that matter. And that's how I see it. But Parsons is not wrong, because when he looks around the NFL landscape and he sees his fellow brethren getting paid top dollar, and he does belong in that discussion. And you can talk about, right, his run defense is not great, and we know the speed, and his pass rushing ability obviously is A+. And no, he is not Lawrence Taylor, but the guy deserves to get paid amongst the greats of the game. And as of right this second, he is not. So, Jerry, what's he going to do about it? Remains to be seen. All right, let's get to the comments here. Let's see. Might actually check out some movies this year, live close to the world. Oh, all right, Bio. Nice. Absolutely. That's cool, because you got a lot of those teams from California that make it all the way to the finals and win. So, no, hey, listen, I hear that. Good for you. The West Regionals. That's what that is. All right, Bio, I like it. Awesome. All right, James, what you got? Hoping Russell gets some W's for my G-Men. If not, the Dart era starts. Yes, it was announced that Russell Wilson was going to start for the Giants, which is no surprise. You knew it wasn't going to be Jameis Winston. And Jackson Dart, obviously, we know as of right this very second is the future. But the big question with the Giants is, I understand this was 21 years ago. If the Giants somehow, some way get off to a good start, and let's just say they have a similar record to what they had in 2004 when they were 5-4, Kurt Warner was the starter. And what did Tom Coughlin do? He pulled Kurt Warner away from the starting lineup and put Eli Manning in. And the Giants obviously didn't make it to the playoffs that year. But we all know that was the building block for Eli to take the hits, the punishment, to learn about what the NFL is. And the following year, they actually made the playoffs. And mind you, they got shut out by Carolina in that game. But that was I won't go as far as saying like a watershed moment, but that was a moment where Coughlin knew, it's like, no, I got to put this kid in, because despite the fact that we're 5-4 and in the midst of a wild card race, we want to see what this kid has. Because let's say Warner would have played the rest of that year and you would have had Eli not play, then it would have been a scenario where chances are he would have started the following year. But if they had a lot of success, people are going to say, well, no, maybe we should bring back Kurt Warner. So obviously they dispelled that by bringing in Eli. The rest, as they say, is history. James, Cowboys shelling out Oh, yeah, that is a disaster. And the only thing I'll say about that, and this is the best way to put it, my cousin was a biggest Cowboy fan I know. And we watched Super Bowl 30 together, me being a Steelers fan, of course. And if I would have told him on that night, January 28th, 1996, after they won their third Super Bowl in 4 years, if I would have said to my cousin, JD, shout out to him, that you won't even go anywhere near a Super Bowl, you won't even sniff a conference championship from that point to today. So think about that. 96. And in less than 6 months, it will be 2026. If I would have told him then that over an almost 30-year span that you wouldn't even sniff a Super Bowl, let alone a conference championship game, he would have thought, wait a minute, I know you don't smoke weed, but you must be smoking something now, because that is the most preposterous and absurd statement that anybody could ever hear. And if I would have placed a bet back then that would be the case, I'd probably be the richest man in America. I mean, that's all you need to say about the Cowboys. That's all you need to say. I don't know what else I could add to that. All right, let's see what else I got here. I got a couple other things. I know the WNBA tipped off, and the only reason why I'm bringing them up is because today I recorded a commentary video on my one main reason why I have not followed the WNBA. And we know its popularity now, and we could banter back and forth about Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and how Caitlin Clark has elevated the profile of the league, and which she has. And I get it that the players before her, and we could go through the big list, and we know who they are. But everything that happened in college the last couple of years surrounding Caitlin Clark, and even Angel Reese, because she also plays a part in this too, how they've been able to transfer that to the W and bring up the ratings and the interest unlike anything I've ever seen. And like I've said in the commentary video, which I'm going to release tomorrow morning, probably before the podcast. So maybe during the podcast pregame, I'll talk about it a little bit. But we could talk about all the great players. Yes, we could talk about Cheryl Swoops. We could talk about Tamika Catchings. We could talk about Diana Taurasi. We could talk about, I mean, listen, I'll be here forever talking about all the great players. Rebecca Lobo, you name it. But the league didn't really hit a fever pitch, no pun intended, to the Indiana Fever until this past year. And yes, I get it. The Las Vegas Aces and Asia Wilson and the Kelsey Plums of the world and a lot of the great players that the league already has. But it has been magnified a lot since the arrival of Clark and Reese. And I'm not going on a limb by saying that. So I don't want you to think that, hey, I'm trying to, this is gospel. I bring that up to say that even with all of the fervor and the buzz, the interest, etc., last year about the WNBA, I still didn't follow it. And I made a mention that after the Liberty won their title last year, and remember, they've gone to 5 championships, 3 in the first 4 years of the league's existence, and they lost to the Houston Comets. And the Comets had Cheryl Swoops on that team and Cynthia Cooper, who I believe are both on all of those teams. Let me just double check that. I don't want to speak off of out of school here. So let's see. She's a how many time champion, Cynthia Cooper? I hope I got this right. Yeah, she was on those teams as a 4-time champion, 4 times finals MVP, and obviously one of the great players that the W has ever seen. Granted, it was many moons ago before it has soared in popularity to this very moment. But even after that, you would think that I would even be more open to saying, you know what, I'm going to follow the WNBA. Am I going to watch every second, every minute, whatever? And then even on the heels of the Liberty winning, a team that plays in Brooklyn on the other side of the bridge from where I live, that I would follow it a lot more closely. And unfortunately, and sadly, I have not. So part of me bringing up the WNBA as they started the second half of their season yesterday is I will pay more attention. How much attention remains to be seen. But I'm not going to speak chapter and verse on things. But as long as I'm able to at least keep myself abreast and the follow here, there. And yes, I know all the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese stuff goes back and forth. And it's a situation where they're going to be tied at the hip. And I think it's good for the sport anyway, because they play literally Chicago, Indiana, not far from one another. And I think it's great for the sport. It's almost comparable to Bird and Magic coming in at this point where now everybody's putting the league on notice because of these two players. And that's not to diminish or dismiss any of the players that have come before them or even the players that are in the league now that came before Clark and Angel Reese. But that's just a fact. So as we get deeper into the season, I will monitor it a lot more better than I have and kind of see where it's all going to play out, especially with the Liberties, seeing if they could try to go back to back. Angel Reese is fun, but the guy on YouTube, that's the guy on YouTube? Oh, it's the second card. The guy on YouTube that does Angel Reese Queen. Oh, I haven't seen that. I got to check that out. I have heard about that guy. Yeah, I don't know who does that either. I got to look that up, but funny enough. My guy, Brent, you're on top of it. I love it. So that's what got the WNBA. And then lastly, I want to talk about this. And Baseball Purists, if you're still in the room, let me know. When I did my podcast pregame on Monday, he had mentioned the city of Detroit. If I thought that it's currently the mecca of sports right now, considering that the Tigers are playing well, although they haven't played well recently. Now their division lead is 8-0 and 9 back. Now they're going to be fine to win the division, but I kind of wonder if they're getting a little bit bored, which is not good if you're AJ Hinch, the manager. I'm just going to put that out there. But the Tigers are good. Lions are good. Red Wings, and the Pistons on the come up. So he asked me whether or not Detroit is the sports mecca of America at the moment. It's kind of hard. I know Bio was part of that chat the other day. He mentioned LA, obviously the Lakers, their 24-hour cycle, Dodgers, defending champ, UCLA basketball, USC football. You want to throw in the Kings. I get it, the Rams and Chargers, not so much. And although LA is a good one, but I think that because UCLA basketball, if you're old enough, when you think of UCLA, you think of the Wizard of Westwood. You think of Lou Alcindor. You think of Bill Walton. You think of guys like that, Marcus Johnson and Lucius Harris. Those are the players you think of at that time. And I understand later on you could talk about the Ed O'Bannons, and later than that, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Love, before that, Matt Barnes, Darren Collison. There's so many players. I mean, the tradition UCLA, it's, come on. We know what they stand for when it comes to Pauley Pavilion, playing out in Southern California. But it's not as if UCLA has, they haven't won in forever. And the Kings, I get it, they won a couple of Stanley Cups in the 20-teens, but I don't know if LA is that sports mecca right now. I said New York only because of all the teams or whatever, but even then I'm still not completely sold, because it's not as if you have to have teams that are either close to winning or have won. And in New York, you have nothing. The Knicks getting to a conference final isn't going to cut it. The Yankees getting to a World Series and losing isn't going to cut it. Mets getting to an NLCS, same there. All right, the Liberty won, but sadly, there are a lot of people that look at the WNBA as and that's just their preference. You can't knock them for that. If that's how they feel, that's how they feel. But all I know is that New York, as much as I could say that, and I'm not trying to throw out any bias, But there's probably another town that I think the one, and I have to admit this, you could arguably say Philadelphia because the Eagles have won, the Phillies are good, and they've been to the postseason the last 3 years. I don't know, the Flyers are garbage, and the Sixers have been the same. But you can look at that, and maybe you want to throw in Villanova, but Villanova was more the previous decade when they won their 2 titles. So right now, and I see some comments pouring in, yeah, that is a tough nut to crack. I don't know. I mean, if I had to take a guess, what is the sports mecca of America as of right this very moment? You know what? Maybe Detroit is up there, baseball purist. I mean, that's all I could say. And it's good to see a city like that get its just due. Obviously, they have deep tradition in sports there in that town where, Tigers go back to Ty Cobb. Pistons, I understand they were by way of another team, Fort Wayne. And were they the Syracuse Nationals? No, that was Syracuse, Fort Wayne. Well, I know they played Fort Wayne prior to going to Detroit. But the Pistons are on to come up with their team. I know the Red Wings are the Red Wings, original 16, but they haven't won in forever. Since 2008? And then you have, who am I missing? Lions, Wings, Pistons, Tigers. Of course, Tigers having a big year. I could probably say Tigers, although I'm a little bit reluctant, but I would choose that. All right, let's see. I see some comments. Val, I don't know if that means you're out. Oh, you're waving there. All right. Or maybe you're still around. 2-8 their last 10. Who is that? Is that the I'm just scrolling up to see which team. Sure, you're talking baseball. All right, Nimmo with a leadoff homer. That's good. Brent. Yeah, I know the Wings, they've really fallen on hard times. Giants now. Yeah, let's get some scores here. For the Giants, they got to be, I would say, what? 4th inning at least, maybe even 5th. Top of the 4th. They have nothing. Nothing, 1 out. Pirates up 6-0 on Detroit. Yeah, and that's bad also. I get it. You could lose series, get swept, etc. But Tigers have not played well here coming out of the gate. And I understand Scooble got the big performance there on Sunday night, but yeah, that's not good. Then you got Cincinnati, Washington, 1-0, San Diego, Miami. All right. And the Mets. Yeah, I'd like to see him get a sweep, get a day off, fly out to the West Coast, and then obviously we play the Giants there on Friday night. Let me see what else I got before I bid adieu, because I'm sure people want to watch the Mets and maybe go about their day unless you're on your phone walking the streets or doing something like that, which if that's the case, again, even more the reason to appreciate you guys and gals and thank you very much, very, very much. Let me see. Oh, bio. Let's see. Lakers, Dodgers, Rams. That's true. Not many. Not Kansas City. You only have 2 teams there. You know what? Maybe it is LA. Who knows? Yeah, what other teams have won multiple rings? Or what are the cities, I should say? That is a good one. That I'd really have to think about. Boston Celtics won with the Red Sox. They won in 18, but no, it's not this decade. Denver, obviously the Broncos haven't won. It's funny, you have the Avalanche and the Nuggets have won, but yeah, that's not a hotbed by any stretch. Unless you want to say Colorado, but that's Boulder with Dion. No, I would have to choose the Lakers over Denver in that regard. Let me see what else. Yeah, definitely not the Bay Area, Giants, Niners, and Warriors. No, that's a good one. And I'd have to give that up to that one. I have to give up. It's funny, Bio, because when you posted that the other day in the podcast pregame, and I knew where you were going with USC football and UCLA, et cetera. But you know what? How many? Yeah, I mean, that's probably, is it the Mecca right now? Based on their recent winning, yeah, it's quite possible. Have the Sparks won a title? I know they won a title many years ago, Lisa Leslie, but interesting. And I know it was a bubble tip. Yeah. No, it's still a ring. Yeah, you know me. I'm not going to discount that by any stretch. Yes, indeed. Dodgers playoff bound. Yep. Lakers and Rams. I love all the comments. No, 100%. And I know we talked about this in, I think, a live stream. Maybe it was in an email we were back and forth on where, yeah, the Rams were this close to knocking the Eagles off in that divisional round game. Oh, man, that would have been something. Then you would have had the Rams. Think about that. Let me see. The Rams. No, they would have hosted that game against the Commanders. Yeah, because the Commanders were what? Weren't they a 5 seed? And the Rams were 4. No. Who the hell? Yeah, Washington went to Tampa. The Rams were a 3 seed. Yeah, Washington would have ended up in LA in the conference title game, which would have been similar to the year you won when San Francisco knocked out Green Bay in Lambeau, and then you guys hosted San Francisco in the championship game. So, interesting stuff. So, Sports Mecca, you know what? Maybe it is LA right now. A little bit better than Detroit if you're going to base it on titles that have been won recently and even star power, things of that nature. So, I could definitely see that. All right, my good people. It's just about 1:30 here on the East. So, remember, tomorrow, podcast pregame live. Listen, I'm trying to branch out. Am I trying to be Kai Cenat? Am I trying to be I Show Speed? Listen, maybe for sports, I can be, but, those guys, obviously, being young, no families. I mean, I don't know. I don't think Kai Cenat has a family, whatever. But the more I put myself out there, the more I get the reps, the more I put in that work, is the more that I will represent not only for myself and what it is I do, but for us, the sports fan, because I make this, as I like to say, one of my new quotes, made by a sports fan for the sports fan. So, I make it for you guys and gals. So without question, I see another comment there. Rams. Yes, that's right. That's right. Back in January. Absolutely. Remember that well. So podcast pregame, as you know, tomorrow, 9:30, as I'll touch on a few of the highlights of what you will expect on the podcast come tomorrow. For those who join, whatever it is you want to say, especially what's going to happen in sports over the next 24 hours, we'll talk about it back and forth, etc. Tell your family, friends, foes, frenemies, share with the good sports fan, the great sports fan, the casual, the diehard, the kook, like us. And as always, it's going to be a good time. And of course, I do that through straight YouTube. I just pop up the link. I don't share it. So that's why if you're subscribed to the channel, you know that it's going to come up pretty much at the time that I say, where this is obviously it's premeditated. I put the link out the day before, make sure people have it so they can hop on board, etc. And also another thing, and I'll talk about this next week, because what I'd like to do, and really what I want to do, and this goes to my diehards here, and you know who they are. The James, the Bios, the Vals, now Brent, baseball purist, Merjana, hopefully she comes back next week, and among many others. Yeah, I want to have you guys and gals participate, to have you guys just hop on board. Like, I'll send you not just a link for the show, but I'll send you a separate link where I can have you join as a guest / co-host that week. And I'll talk more about that next week. So with the giveaway and with that, because, I want to incorporate you guys just to show some love, get the face and the voice. And listen, if you don't want to be a part of it, I understand. I'm not trying to pressure or, hey, you got to be on the live stream with me. No, if you don't, I understand that and I respect that. But I'm actually, and I have been thinking about that for quite some time. And considering today was probably the best turnout that I've ever had. And I know people, sorry, but I got to do it one more time. I'm grateful and thankful and blessed to have everybody on board. But this is what I want. I want this to be a recurring thing each and every week. Have people on board, chat room, back and forth, talk about anything and everything. I didn't even have a basketball topic, and we ended up talking about basketball for whatever it was, 10, 15, 20 minutes. So that's what this is about, to build this little community, to not only build this live stream into my podcast, into my podcast pre-games, to my content, whether it's the critique videos, the commentary videos, the vlogs, even some lifestyle stuff, doesn't matter. All this encompasses the big picture, the big goal for what it is I want to do is to be that guy out there and to represent the small guy, the little engine that could, that who knows, if I do end up becoming big time, I will not forget you guys. And I want to bring you guys on with me to the big time. And what I mean by that is that, yes, to show your gratitude or to show my gratitude for you guys and gals. And I hold myself accountable to say this today, July 23rd, that if anywhere down the road is like, well, Jay Reels, remember that day? I got to own up to it. But you know what? That is something that I'm willing to do, ready to do, and able to do. So that's what I got on that. So yeah, commentary videos coming tomorrow. Definitely check that out. Any last thoughts in the chat room before I sign off? Please feel free. Now's your chance, opportunity, etc. As we'll watch some afternoon baseball and look forward to a podcast tomorrow, as you all know. Thank you so much one more time. If you haven't done so, please subscribe, like, leave a comment. You see it scrolled on the bottom, but I'll just throw it up there anyway. Latest edition, as you well know, tomorrow. Apple, Spotify, jreels.com is the website. And of course, the YouTube channel at jreels. And there you go. I don't even have to say it. I'll just post it. How about that? That'll do it, my good people. Another live stream just about in the books, as always, as you see there in the graphic. And again, podcast pregame tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Hop on board, share your thoughts, share everything. We'll go back and forth on that prior to the recording of the pod. And as you well know, or if you do or do not know by now, sports in the blood and the DNA, as I like to say, talking sports since birth, nothing but passion, fire, energy, fury with my thoughts, opinions, critiques, praise, analysis, feelings on anything and everything that happens on the world of the diamond, ice, gridiron, hardwood, golf course, racetrack, tennis court, boxing ring, octagon, you name it. From my lips to your ears, from my heart to your soul, from where I am to wherever you are. The J Reels live stream always comes live, direct, correct, and in full effect. From the South Bronx, the South Beach, the South Central, the South Pacific, and all points beyond. Peace, love, and God bless everybody. One more time, podcast pregame tomorrow, 9:30. Podcast tomorrow. Check for it around noon Eastern, a little bit after that. It'll be on all those platforms, as I mentioned. And until next week on the J Reels live stream. Oh, I see one more comment. Don't want to dismiss that. Brent, thank you, my man. Take care. Wonderful show. Thank you. Again, gratitude one more time. And as always, my good people, until next week on the J Reels live stream, on the flip, baby.